Welcome back to part 2 of this week's reading of the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Tree of Life version. This is the Bible study for Waymaker Messianic Jewish and Christian Center USA. Welcome. We're about to dig into the first 15 Proverbs. Before we do that, I'm going to introduce you to the writer of the first 29 of them, and that is Solomon. He's a king of Israel. He was the son of David and Bathsheba. David had been the king before Solomon, and Solomon followed David. Solomon was the world's wisest man of all times. He was a poet, he was a musician, he was a botanist, a zoologist, and a statesman. And he is responsible for the first 29 Proverbs. And like I had read before, Agur, Agur, is a wise man who wrote Proverbs 30, and Lemuel um, was an Arabian prince who wrote Proverbs 31. So we're going to get started with Proverbs 1. The value of wise sayings. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, to acquire wisdom and discipline, to understand the words of insight, to receive instructions in wise behavior, righteousness, justice, and fairness, to give discernment to the naive, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise listen and increase learning, and the discerning obtain wise counsel. To understand a proverb and a puzzle, the sayings of the wise and their riddles. Yes, this is very important for today. Absolutely. The wisdom of parents. The fear of Adonai is the beginning of knowledge. And when we use the word fear, we need to be in awe of Adonai, revere Adonai, respect Adonai. But fools despise wisdom and discipline. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a garland of grace for your head and a chain to adorn your neck. The next section of chapter 1 is avoid a bloodthirsty gang. My son, if sinners entice you, do not give in. Suppose they say, come with us. Let's lie in wait for blood. Let's ambush the innocent for no reason. Let's swallow them alive like Sheol. And Sheol is another word for hell. Still healthy as they go down to the pit. We'll find all sorts of valuable things. We'll fill our homes with loot. Throw your lot in with us. We'll all have one wallet. Boy, we've seen all those who are doing that today, haven't we? My son, do not go along with them. Keep your foot from their path, for their feet run to evil, and they are swift to shed blood. Surely it is useless to spread a net in the eyes of all winged creatures, but they lie in wait for their own blood. They ambush their own lives. Such is the fate of all gaining by violence. It takes the life of its possessor. Ooh, I think we can all look at that in today's word, and we can see who is doing that and who actually stays out of getting involved in these things. We've had a perfect example of that in this last week. I don't need to even go there, but those of you that are listening to this will clearly understand what I'm talking about. The next section is wisdom calls, but who listens? Wisdom calls aloud in the streets. She raises her voice in public squares. She cries out above the commotion. At the entrance of the city gate, she utters her speech. How long will you naive ones love simplicity? You scoffers delight in scoffing, and you fools hate knowledge. You are repulsed at my rebuke. Behold, I pour out my heart to you. I will make my words known to you, because you refused when I called and did not pay attention when I stretched out my hand. Since you ignore all my advice and would not accept my rebuke, I in turn will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when dread comes on you, when your terror comes like a storm and your calamity sweeps over you. you like a whirlwind when trouble and distress overwhelm you. Then they will cry out to me, but I will not answer. They will earnestly seek me, but will not find me. Because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of Adonai, they would not accept my counsel. They spurned all my reproof. So they will eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own schemes. For the backsliding of the naive will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever pays attention to me will live securely and be free from the fear of evil. Wow, really powerful. And this is also for today. In the times that we're living in, we need to abide in Adonai. He is our only hope in a world that is so full of calamity and chaos. The one true living God, we can rest assured, is in the throne. He still is king. And we still need to engage in our prayer. We need to praise and worship him. Definitely, this is the spiritual battle we are in now. We need to be totally engaged in spiritual warfare all the time. Keep your armor on, people. This is where we're at. And, there's a great harvest that is about to also happen. And we're going to, the way is being open to all of us that God has actually risen a lot of people that are following in the will of the Father. So in following in the will of the Father, he is the one giving direction. He is the one who will lead us and guide us and also help guide the lost souls to the foot of the cross so they can be saved. I am going to open an altar call, as has been put in my heart from the beginning of when we started this ministry online. The Lord said altar call, and so I include an altar call with every audio video that I do, every teaching that I do. You will always find an altar call, so that if anyone stumbles over it, and they may have been sitting on the fence, they can say that prayer and be born again and saved. And they can tell me that they have, but it doesn't matter. It's between them and God knows. God knows who has and who hasn't. So Proverbs 2. I'm going to continue with this book of Proverbs. Seek treasures of wisdom. My son, if you accept my words and treasure my mitzvot, and we know mitzvot is commandments, within you, making your ear attentive to wisdom, inclining your heart to discernment. Yes, if you call out for insight, lifting up your voice for discernment, if you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will know the fear of Adonai and discover the knowledge of God. For Adonai gives wisdom. Out of his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity. He guards the path of justice and protects the ways of his Kedoshim. And then you will discern what is right and just and fair, every good path. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant for your soul. Discretion will watch over you. Discernment will guard you, to deliver you from the way of evil, from those speaking perverse things who leave the straight paths to walk in ways of darkness, who rejoice in doing wrong and delight in the perversity of evil, whose paths are crooked and are devious in their ways, to deliver you from a seducing woman, a wayward wife with seductive words, who forsakes the partner of her youth and forgets the covenant of her God. For her house sinks down to death, and her tracks to the dead. None who go to her return, nor reach the paths of life. So you will walk in the way of good men, and keep the paths of the righteous. For the upright will dwell in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous uprooted from it. And there's a footnote Bible verse from the Brit Kadashah that I'm going to address here. It's from the book of Jacob, which is also in the Gentile Bibles is known as James. It is chapter 1, verse 5. But if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all without hesitation and without reproach, and it will be given to him. So if you're wanting discernment, take it all. You've heard the saying, and this is not a foolish thing, it's a very wise saying. Take it to the Lord in prayer. It says so much because the Lord will give you the answer. Proverbs 3, and many of us know this Proverbs. I actually read it on part 1. In all your ways acknowledge him. No matter what happens, give God praise and glory for everything. Okay? We need to know who's in control, and we need to give him thanksgiving and praise and honor and all the glory for God. My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my mitzvah. For length of days and years of life and shalom they will add to you. Let kindness and truth never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will gain favor and a good name in the eyes of God and man. Trust in Adonai with all your heart. Lead not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Adonai and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your body and refreshment to your bones. Honor Adonai with your wealth and with the first of your entire harvest. Then your barns will be filled with plenty. Your vats will overflow with new wine. Discipline as the Father's love. My son, never despise Adonai's discipline or dread his correction, for Adonai loves those he reproves, even as a father, the son in whom he delights. And there's something I want to address here before we move on to the next section of this chapter. So, and I wanted to address it when we were reading it. Kedoshim in Hebrew means saints, holy ones. And one of the verses in the footnotes is Hebrews 12, verses 5 to 7. Have you forgotten the warning addressed to you as sons? My son, do not take lightly the discipline of Adonai or lose heart when you are corrected by him. This is actually taken from that section in Proverbs 3. Because Adonai disciplines the one he loves and punishes every son he accepts. It is for discipline that you endure. God is treating you as sons. For what son does a father not discipline? And continuing with Proverbs chapter 3, precious pearls, a tree of life. Happy is the man who finds wisdom, and the man who gains understanding, for her trade value is better than silver, and her yield better than fine gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire compares to her. Length of days is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant ways, and all her paths are shalom. She is a tree of life to those who embrace her, and blessed will be all who hold firmly to her. By wisdom Adonai founded the earth, by understanding he established the heavens. By his knowledge the deeps were divided, and the clouds drip dew. My son, hold on to the sound wisdom and discernment. Do not let them out of your sight. They will be life to your soul and an ornament to grace your neck. Then you will walk on your way in safety, and your foot will not stumble when you lie down. You will not be afraid when you lie down. Your sleep will be sweet. For those that are having trouble sleeping, that is a very good verse to have. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. You can pray that over yourself. Have no fear of sudden terror or of the devastation of the wicked when it comes. For Adonai will be your confidence and will keep your foot from a snare. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, come back later, I'll give it tomorrow, when you have it with you. Do not plot evil against your neighbor while he lives trustfully beside you. Do not quarrel with a man for no reason if he has done you no harm. Do not envy a violent man or choose any of his ways, for the devious are detestable to Adonai, but he takes the upright into his confidence. Adonai's curse is on the wicked house, for he blesses a righteous but he blesses a righteous home. Wow, that's really a powerful verse. Adonai's curse is on a wicked house, but he blesses a righteous home. Though he scoffs at the scoffers, he gives grace to the humble. The wise inherit honor, but fools are held up in disgrace. Chapter 4, Proverbs 4. A father's lesson. Get wisdom. Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction. Pay attention to gain understanding, for I give you sound learning. Do not forsake my instruction. When I was a son to my father, tender and special to my mother, he taught me and said to me, lay hold of my words in your heart. Keep my commands, and you will live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget, nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will guard you. Love her, and she will watch over you. Wisdom is supreme. Acquire wisdom. With all your acquisitions, get understanding. Prize her, and she will exalt you. She will honor you when you embrace her. She will set a garland of grace on your head. She will give you a crown of glory. Ways of wisdom and wickedness. Listen, my son, and accept my words, so the years of your life will be many. I instructed you in the way of wisdom. I have guided you along straight paths. When you walk, your step will not be hindered, and when you run, you will not stumble. Hold on tightly to instruction. Do not let it go. And our instruction is the Bible. Guard it, for it is your life. Amen. Do not enter the path of the wicked or walk in the way of evil people. Avoid it. Do not travel on it. Turn away from it and pass by. For they cannot sleep until they do evil. They are robbed of sleep until they make someone fall, for they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. The path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, shining brighter and brighter until the full day. The way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. My son, pay attention to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and health to their whole body. Guard your heart diligently, for from it flows the springs of life. Put away perversity from your mouth, and keep devious lips far from you. Let your eyes look directly ahead, and fix your gaze straight in front of you. Clear a level path for your feet, so all your ways will be firm. Do not turn to the right or to the left. Divert your foot from evil. And a footnote is from the book of James or Jacob in this Bible. It is chapter 4, verse 6. But he gives greater grace, therefore it is said, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And First Peter chapter 5, verse 5 says, likewise, you younger ones, submit yourself to the elders, and all of you clothe yourself with humility toward one another, for God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Proverbs 5. Beware seduction. My son, pay attention to my wisdom, incline your ear to my insight, that you may maintain discretion, and your lips may preserve knowledge. For a seducing woman's lips drip honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as wormwood. Sharp as a double-edged sword, her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to Sheol. She does not keep straight to the path of life. Her paths are crooked, but she does not know it. So now, my sons, listen to me and do not turn aside from the words of my mouth. Keep your path far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your strength to others and your years to one who is cruel, lest strangers feast on your strength. Your labors go to a foreigner's house. At the end of your life you will groan, when your flesh and body are spent, and you will say, how I hated discipline, how my heart spurned reproof. I would not listen to my teacher's voice or incline my ear to my instructors. I was almost in utter ruin amid the community and congregation. Well, as we know, Solomon had one of his weaknesses and his downfall Paul's was he had a weakness for collecting women as his wives, and um, he had way too many, and many of them worshipped pagan gods. So he started doing that too, which is where things started going a little crazy. And by the time his son was king, the kingdom ended up being divided because of all of this disobedience to God. Drink water from your own cistern and running water from your own well. Should your springs flow in the streets, your streams of water in public squares, let them be yours alone and not shared with strangers. May your fountains be blessed, and may you delight in the wife of your youth, a lovely hind, a graceful doe. May her breast satisfy you always. May you always be captivated by her love. Why, my son, be captivated by a seducing woman? Why embrace a foreigner's bosom? For a man's ways are before the eyes of Adonai, and he observes all his paths. The iniquities of a wicked man will ensnare him. The cords of his sin will hold him down. He will die for lack of discipline, led astray by his own great folly. So all the lawlessness, all these people that want lawlessness, and we've seen all of this. I mean, that is folly. That is pure folly. Um, Proverbs 6, economic entanglements. This is debt, credit cards. Try to get rid of them. My son, if you have become a co-signer for your neighbor, if you have shaken hands in a pledge with a stranger, if you are trapped by your own words, ensnared by the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, and free yourself, since you fell into your neighbor's hand. Go humble yourself, plead with your neighbor, allow no sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Escape like a gazelle from the hunter's hand, like a bird from the snare of the fowler. And the second section of chapter 6 is laziness and perversity. Go to the ant, you slacker, consider its ways and be wise. I think of how how hard an ant works, and if you've ever watched, they can carry things on their back. It's wild. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it prepares its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. How long will you lie there, slacker? When will you get up from your sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, and your poverty comes like a bandit, and you need like and your need like an armed man, a scoundrel. A wicked man is one who goes around with a perverse mouth, winking his eyes, shuffling his feet, pointing his fingers, who continually plots evil and deceit in his heart, stirring up strife. Therefore, his disaster will come suddenly. In an instant, he will be broken with no remedy. 6 things Adonai hates. Yes, 7 are abominations to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that plots wicked schemes, feet that run to evil, a false witness who sprouts lies, and one who stirs up strife among brothers. Well, that's breaking one of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. That's lying about other people, saying things that are just not true about other people. That is bearing false witness. That is one of the 10 Commandments. They need to get back into the courtrooms. They need those plaques back in. They need to be relearned by people. They are still in effect as far as God is concerned. I'm going to read this last section again, and then we'll read the final section of Proverbs 6 on part 3 because I'm running out of time. 6 things Adonai hates. Yes. 7 are abominations to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. What? How more innocent than the life of an unborn child? The abortionist. I'm sorry, I have to say that. A heart that plots wicked schemes, feet that run to evil, a false witness who sprouts lies, and one who stirs up strife among brothers. Let that sink in before we go on to part 3.